everyone. So, this is the very first episode, the pilot episode of Whale Talk, my brand new podcast. So, I've never done a podcast before. I've never really had a topic to talk about until now. And I thought, I really love talking about whales and dolphins with anyone that I meet, especially enthusiasts. Also with like family members, with viewers on stream, and things like that. So I'm going to give the disclaimer. However, normally I'll give a different disclaimer. So usually these episodes will be live streamed on Twitch, and I'll be recording them whilst live streaming them. However, I have already live streamed this episode. I was not satisfied with it, so I am re-recording it. So, what is Whale Talk? So, Whale Talk is basically a discussion where, well, it's not really a discussion yet. It's going to be a discussion in the future if I get co-hosts. I'm trying to get co-hosts. So we're going to be talking about news from around the world during Whale Talk. For whales and dolphins, but particularly orcas, because there's a little bit of a bias towards orcas here, I'm going to be honest. But also these are what comes up in my feed more often. So this is just all information, like this are just articles that come up in my feed, and then I'll do my own little bit of research on it. And today we've got 11 news articles. We have a segment for Orca of the Month. We have an update for our adopted orca with the Whale Museum. We also have Orca Watch, where we track all the northern, southern, and southern residents and big orcas in the Northwest Pacific region. We also have a segment where I will try and educate you on something about whales or dolphins. Today is actually going to be the taxonomy. And I will also bring a bit of a showcase of a lesser known whale species. Today is going to be about her whale. Now, this podcast is going to go out once a month. We're going to do it monthly. I did think about having it more frequently than that, but there's not going to be enough news coming in to really make it like bi-weekly, for instance. We also have a charity spotlight each month, where we'll be talking about one charity in particular. Today it's about whale and dolphin conservation. And then we'll have a Q&A. Now, usually when I'm streaming these, I will take questions from chat. But I also take questions in advance, particularly big questions, where I can actually like do my research on actually getting these answers out. So we've got 2 of those today. But to start with, we have something a little bit lighter hearted. And we have something called Whale Facts. Now, if you don't know my community and what whale facts are, I won't explain how these came about, but they are a bit of humor that we have. There's like an inside joke. And I'm letting you guys in on this joke. So, whale facts are basically facts about whales that are crazy obvious to the point where they're just dumb. So, I hope you enjoy the 3 that I prepared today, and I will be preparing 3 pretty much every single time we do this podcast. So, firstly, by the way, I'm not going to explain what whale facts are in future episodes. Did you know if you stack 3 whales on top of each other, you have a whale sandwich? And this is because the bottom whale is bread, the top whale is bread. So you've got the middle section, which is also a whale. So it explains itself. Did you know that despite having a country named after them, no whales are actually Welsh? Surprising that. And the last one for today. So, sea whales breathe air. But strangely, sky whales don't breathe space. And that's because sky whales don't exist. I'm here all week, folks. Shall we get into the news? So I've got 12 pieces of news for you guys this month. And I've collected these through various different sources. And I picked the ones I thought were most impactful for this podcast, and the ones I think are most interesting as well. And there are some that I've got more to say than others. Like our second news article is something that's going to be literally just one headline. I think in future podcasts I will actually just change this slightly, where we'll have like longer news and then like one line news. So our first topic today is actually posted by the Scientific American, and it's about orcas and baby pilot whales. So this is about something that was discovered in Iceland, where on more than one occasion, a pod of orcas was spotted with a baby pilot whale with them. And now this was puzzling. This was puzzling to researchers because initially they thought that this was an orca that had lost its pigmentation. Now, the potential reasons for this are quite varied, and they extend from potential play. They could just be playing with the baby pilot whales. So pilot whales and orcas are very similar. They're in the same family, and they are genetically very similar. This could also be adoption that was thrown out as a potential explanation. And of course, predation could also be a potential explanation. However, these orcas were mostly fish eaters, so predation is quite unlikely. These encounters were rather short, and the baby pilot whale was not seen with that pod again in the future. So full adoption is rather unlikely. One potential explanation that has been thrown out, which I found quite interesting because it could have legs. If it is, that's very interesting. And that's that the orcas could be using these pilot whales to help them hunt. So these orcas eat herring, and herring are a small fish. They require eating a lot of them, and they need to corral herring into a bait ball to do this, which means having more bodies on site is much easier to create into a ball. So they might be using these baby pilot whales to help them funnel the fish in to a tighter ball so that they can then eat more fish. And these are usually the kinds of orcas that will use their tails to slap fish, and that'll stun the fish, and then they'll just scoop them up. So our second news article is actually a very short one, and it's that British Columbia shipping companies have agreed to slow their boats for orcas. And this was posted by Vancouver City News. And I only have one thing to say on this. This is great. I'm happy that they have decided to take upon themselves to do this. This is not a law that's been enforced on them. They have decided to do this on their own back. Our next news article is, and this is a bit of a call to action. This is posted by Orca Conservancy, and that is a charity that we have supported on the Twitch channel before. And that's regarding a proposal for a floating turbine installed in the Salish Sea. Now, this turbine would be this would be a platform bigger than a 747 plane, with a double turbine propeller. Now, this has public comments due at the end of September for those who are against this. This is proposed to generate 2 megawatts of power. Now, there are a lot of disadvantages for particularly orcas here. Now, the first one being obviously a physical thing. Turbines in the water are not something you want near orcas. There have been southern residents killed before by propellers of boats. But this can also cause them chronic pain due to the noise. And the electromagnetic fields could interfere with echolocation, making it harder for them to find prey. And as for their prey, it may impact the Chinook salmon spawning habitats through sediment transport. Now, the Chinook salmon and the southern resident orcas are intrinsically linked. What happens to one will affect the other. If we do not save that species of salmon, we will not save the southern residents. So it's very important to conserve both. The Chinook salmon are a keystone species in that ecosystem, which means that a lot of the ecosystem rides on the salmon being at a healthy level in the ecosystem. So this proposal is a long-term proposal as well. So if this happens, there will be pretty much no remit, and the duration of this will be very long. And once it's started, it's not really going to be possible to stop it. So this needs to be blocked. So if you're in a position to make a public comment, go over to Orca Conservancy. They do have it on their page. If you do want the link, I will post it in the comments. Just ask for it. Now we're going to move on to our next news article. Now this one is honestly something that's a bit baffling when you first think about it, and then when you think about it like a little bit more, it's kind of obvious. And this, granted, I found this on, of all places, AOL.com. However, this is also like posted in several other places, and I've seen loads. I had to do my research on this because I don't know if this is really the most reputable source. It feels very sensationalist, and this is about orcas hunting mooses. Mice? Mooses. Now, that means that orcas are the only marine predator of mooses. Now, when I was doing my research about this, not only did I find this was true, but this is not very common. This is somewhat rare, but it does happen. But I actually found this amazing comment on Reddit, of all places. And so I'm going to read this out. This made me chuckle. Imagine you're an orca just chilling in the Alaskan Sea when suddenly this huge-legged seal with antlers just kind of trots downwards from the surface through the water and starts eating kelp. Then you take an exploratory bite of one of those strange appendages sticking out from beneath it, like the elongated flippers of a sea turtle or maybe some weird mutated octopus. It's made of food. Who are you to turn down a free meal that brazenly swims into your living room and starts eating your houseplants? That's but that analogy, I had to include that analogy, is hilarious. Okay, on to our next news article, and this is about interspecies relations. Dow's porpoises and northern resident orcas. So in the Pacific Northwest, there are 4 populations of orcas. There are the offshore orcas, which we don't talk about because they're never seen. Of the three remaining, there are the northern and southern residents. They are separate populations, but they both eat fish. They both eat salmon. The final population are the big orcas. These eat marine mammals. So Dow's porpoises have been spotted interacting with northern resident orcas. These porpoises and Pacific white-side dolphins. Dow's porpoises have very similar colorations to orcas. They can kind of blend in a little bit. They've been seen particularly playing with orca calves, which is kind of cute because they're like similar kind of size. So the northern residents do not eat mammals, and the Dow's porpoises will be able to tell the difference between a resident orca and a big orca. So the resident orcas and big orcas do not interact with each other, and if anything, they do actively avoid each other. They do not cross paths. They make sure they do not cross paths. They avoid each other. And it might be that the Dow's porpoises and Pacific white-sided dolphins have conned onto this, and that they decide to associate themselves with the northern resident orcas because it might make the chances of them being found by big orcas even rarer. So this is an interesting theory. I think this might actually genuinely be the correct theory. I think this might actually be why they're doing it. And I love hearing stories of cooperation, symbiosis, if you will, between two animals in the animal kingdom. Now this was posted by the Natural Geographic, so very reputable. Next news article we have is posted by Perth Now, which is an Australian source, and it's about a humpback whale that was found off the coast of Australia in a bay, lost. So it was on its migration and ended up in this bay. And there was a video of this. Now, the video also showed that there were a pod of 4 dolphins that are actually playing with this whale. And at the end of the video, these dolphins actually guided the whale out back into sea and back onto its route of migration. So again, 2 species of cetaceans like working together. It's heartwarming to see that. And so that's I love bringing those articles to you guys because they're probably lesser known things that have happened. Now, what might be not so lesser known is that the Vancouver Triathlon was gate crashed by orcas. And this was posted by Vancouver is Awesome. I believe these were big orcas. And so this did not actually impact the race. This happened just after the race. But the orcas were actually on the swim path of the triathlon. And the swim was the last leg of this triathlon. And the commentators jokingly said that they need a procedure for if orcas gate crash again. Okay, so our next news article is probably the most groundbreaking piece of research, not just this month, but this year, regarding orcas, or even cetaceans in general. So southern residents are now the first known marine mammal to create and fashion their own tools. And they've been observed taking bull kelp, detaching the stalk, making it to the length that they wish, and they've been using this for skin maintenance. So this requires 2 orcas. So one orca will then rub this stalk along the body of the other orca. And this is called allokelping. The fascinating thing about this is that they actually fashion this as a tool. So it's the first time a cetacean has been observed modifying an item to act as a tool. All of this was discovered from drone footage during research, and it's from it's from Science Direct, and that's the journal, and it's Michael Weiss et al. 2025. So this was with the Centre for Whale Research and University of Exeter, UK. And this was a study that they did from, I believe, the start of 2024. And they have just last month released their findings. And this is groundbreaking. I always thought they must use tools, and they have been observed using tools. This is the first time that they've actually been observed modifying something to act as a tool. So this happens more in J-pod than other pods, with all 6 match lines seen using it. But it's also been observed in L-pod and K-pod. And obviously this has been spotted multiple times because this is an article with some actual hard data, some numbers behind it. So our next news article is something less happy. In fact, this is really sad. So this is from Whale and Dolphin Conservation. The next 2 articles are from them. So the first one is that over 200 pilot whales have been brutally slaughtered in the Faroe Islands. Now, these are often painful and slow deaths, which I will not go into details on during this podcast, due to the barbaric nature of them. And the carcasses after are considered toxic. So it's not even for whale mates. It's for pointless reasons. So this is a Faroe Island tradition, but many people from the Faroe Islands want this to end. And only through raising awareness and raising interest in whales can we influence more people from the Faroe Islands to turn against this tradition, and hopefully get this tradition to end at some point. Because every year an estimated 900 whales and dolphins are killed for pointless reasons in the Faroe Islands, and given the slow reproductive rates of cetaceans, this is not just unacceptably barbaric, but also completely unsustainable from a population point of view. Now, on the flip side, there was some bad news about whaling. Now, if this is some good news about whaling, this is a win, is that there will be no whaling in Iceland this year. The last remaining minke whaling ship is up for sale in Iceland, marking the end of minke whaling in Iceland for at least the time being. Whaling permits take a long time to obtain in Iceland and are very expensive, and due to change in public perception, the consumption of whale meat is diminishing, which makes it less of an incentive for whalers to operate. Now, earlier this year, the company that hunts fin whales also cancelled its whaling plans. So, this is a big win. And our final news article today is actually an article I wasn't going to include this, but this was posted in Discord by one of my viewers. So I decided, if it's posted by someone else, I'll include it. So a video has emerged. Now, this is from Live Science. A video has emerged of 2 orcas in Norway, 109 kilometers northeast of Tromsø, which is a great whale watching spot, appearing to nibble each other's tongues. Now, this is the first time this behavior has been spotted in the wild. It has been spotted in captivity, but captivity is not in any way not in any form a way to look at behavior of orcas. It's not a natural behavior when it's in captivity. There is nothing natural about that. Now, why did I want to omit this? It's because there is a big risk of anthropomorphizing here and applying too many humans' thoughts and emotions to this. And there has only been one recorded instance of this, and that's this video. So we can only make assumptions. But the suggestion is, of course, that it strengthens social bonds in orcas as it does in humans. There's a very human way of thinking about it. So that's it for the news for this month. There was one other piece of news I was going to mention, but I'm actually going to be mentioning it here because it ties into Orca of the Month quite well. So there was a video that emerged of an orca moonwalking. Now, moonwalking is when an orca will surface tail first, and it will look like it's swimming backwards. It is actually swimming backwards. Now, it looks like it's a video that's been like reversed. However, there's other orcas in this video, so this is actually not fake. This is actually generally an orca moonwalking, as it were. And this is a behavior that is thought to be involved in prey sharing. So big orcas will prey share once they make a kill and share it with the rest of the pod. Now, how does this tie into Orca of the Month? Well, our Orca of the Month for July is T65A Artemis. Now, there's a personal note here. She is the cis of T65B. And T65B is the matriarch of the family of orcas that were the first orcas I ever saw. Only a year and a day ago from today, or at the time of recording. So she is a 39-year-old Biggs orca matriarch. She has had 6 calves, of which 5 are still alive, and all live with their mother. She has a recognizable dorsal fin, in my opinion, due to a small chunk taken out near the top. Now, what makes Artemis very unique is that she is one of the few orcas in the world that have been spotted somewhat regularly moonwalking. She's kind of well known for it. Now, so that is Orca of the Month. We're going to give a quick update on L90 Balena, who is the adopted orca with the Whale Museum, with the channel. And there is no update. So Alpot has not been seen since November. With that, by seen, I mean with photo identification. Not been seen since November. In fact, the last time they were seen was in Oregon earlier this year. And the last time any southern resident was seen was at the end of April. So that was J-Pod, and K-Pod were around for a little bit. But L-Pod's not been seen for a while. And this is becoming a more common trend nowadays with the absence of so much fish, where the southern residents just disappear for spring. Now, normally I'd want to cover the northern residents, but I do not actually have a source for northern resident sightings. If you guys have them, I'd love to hear that. Now, as for Biggs, so Biggs, we have had so many sightings in June, so many. Now, I should explain what a tea party is. So, tea refers to transient. Biggs orcas used to be called transients. And a tea party is a grouping of at least 3 different matrolines. So in June, there have actually been 2 tea parties. There's been one with 16 individuals, the T45Bs, T123s, and the T73As. The second, there's been a tea party of 5 matrolines, again with 16 individuals, T75Bs, T86As, T124A2s, T124Ds, and T137s. Other pods that have been spotted were the T65As and the T100s, T34s and the T37s, T65Bs and the T75Bs, also T36 and the T36Bs. So T36 is T36B's mother. Also the mother of T99, suspected mother. And the T99s have been spotted as well. Now, if you're interested about T99B, which I am, considering she is the orca that's actually on my image right here, the Whale Talk podcast image, with that very distinctive dorsal fin. I love that family. They swam under my boat when I was there. So she is back with her mother's pod. Now, her story was that in autumn last year, she had a calf. So she split off from her mother. And when she was next seen, there was no calf. So presumably she lost the calf. And she started traveling with a different pod. Still her family, but a different pod. And then now she's finally been spotted with her mother's pod again. Now we come to an educational section, which I like to call Educate Me. And this is where I try and educate you guys on something that may be lesser known or something that may require a little bit more knowledge. So this one's going to be based on taxonomy. Now, a lot of people will ask, like, what's a whale, what's a dolphin? I don't think there's an easy way of describing a whale dolphin. Because, so whales and dolphins, they evolved in the most basic sense, they evolved from cows. Like animals like cows. And when they got into the water, they split into two different groups. One group grew baleen, one group grew teeth. So the baleens are called Mystaceti. And they include 4 families. They include the rorquals, which are the big whales. Those are the blue whales, fin whales, humpback whales. There's also a family for the grey whales. And there's also a family for the right whales. The 4th one, I don't know off the top of my head. I think it's a pygmy blue whale. The right whales also include the bowhead whale as well. So, Mississippi, the baleen whales. I'm gonna say that word a lot. The baleen whales. So, in addition to having baleen instead of teeth, where that makes them automatically filter feeders, they do have 2 blowholes, but they do not have echolocation. They don't have the melon, which is the organ that allows echolocation. So it's presumed that they find their prey through smell, because they have 2 blowholes, which allows them to detect scents directionally. Now, on the other side of things, you've got Odontoceti, which are toothed whales. So in that, you've got river dolphins, you've got sperm whales, you've got beaked whales, you have monodons, which are belugas and narwhals. Narwhals and belugas are so closely related. Then you've got porpoises, and then you've got what people would typically refer to as dolphins, oceanic dolphins. And these are the ones where orcas are the largest oceanic dolphin. But for me, there is no whale or dolphin. There is just toothed whale, baleen whale. Now we get to a segment where I actually talk about a lesser known species of whale dolphin that you may have heard of, but you might not know too much about. And today we have the bowhead whale. Now, these are baleen whales. In fact, they have the longest baleen of any whale, up to 4 meters long. And their closest living relatives are right whales. So their range, they live in the Arctic Circle. And they do not have any issues with ice when going to breathe, as their heads are sturdy enough to break through 0.5 meter of ice. I was fortunate enough to today see an article that had a video of a bowhead whale actually doing this. And it is a sight to behold. If you guys want me to try and find that video and link it, I'll link it in the comments. Just let me know. So they are filter feeders, and they swim with their mouths open, collecting their preferred prey in their mouths before closing it, forcing the water out through the baleen plates. They eat mostly krill and small crustaceans. So to identify them, they're not easy to identify. It's typically based on where they live that you'll be able to identify them. Seeing them underwater is incredibly rare. In fact, seeing them at all is rare. So they do not have a dorsal fin, so that's probably the biggest giveaway. They're all black, mostly. Now, bowhead whales are not commonly in the public eye, which is crazy to think, given how many records they have in the animal kingdom. Among mammals, they are the longest living, living up to 200 years old, and possibly more. Now, how do we know this? Because there have been hooks found in particular individuals, and these hooks are over 200 years old. And for those to be hooked in the animal had to be around 200 years ago. So they also have one of the greatest catalogues of songs of all whales, which is not something that's really mentioned that much. Now, their major threats are global warming and retreating progress. They're not whaled that much, so it's mostly global warming. And when you're a species that live in the Arctic, that is your main concern anyway. So I want to talk about a particular charity now, and this is. So I want to give a massive shout out to them because all the information that you just heard about bowhead whale is from the Whale and Dolphin Conservation website. And I actually raised money for them in June for World Ocean Day. And as streamers, we raised over £5,000. And this goes towards dives to clean up the ocean, the seafloor. So this removes ghost fishing gear, which can't be removed in any other way. And dives are expensive, and this ghost gear can entangle, it can kill cetaceans. So I had the honor of raising money for them, and I'm gonna be fundraising for them again in October. And now we come to the final segment of Whale Talk, our first episode. So this is a question and answer segment, and so typically I'll be streaming this, and we will take questions in from chat, and I will respond to them on stream. In addition to that, we do also have questions that are submitted by viewers or by viewers of the channel. There is a channel in the Discord to ask questions, and I will feature them in Whale Talk. So we've got two today, and our first question is from Sleeply Sapphic. How do orcas interact with their young? And what is the relationship bond like between mother and child, or family as a whole? So orcas live in pods, and within those pods is what is referred to as a match line. Now, a match line consists of the mother orca and her immediate offspring, as well as any grand offspring that she might have with daughters that are still living with her. Now, her daughters will often branch off from the mother's pod after her first or second calf. The daughter's first or second calf. And she'll take her calves with her, creating a brand new match line. So as for the sons will always stay with their mother for their entire life. And the mothers will sacrifice quite a lot for sons, even adult sons, by ensuring that her son is strong and healthy, even giving some of her food to her son. The mother will also teach calves how to hunt, and especially any special techniques, since when orcas are born, they do not have the instincts for these techniques. These are all learned behaviors. So they have to be passed down through the generations. And through this, they'll also learn their language. Now, orcas will sometimes, when they're hunting, particularly big orcas, leave prey alive so that calves can practice hunting on that prey. And when the family manages to get a kill, this is for bigs. For residents, this is possibly not the case, but with bigs, it's the case where when one family member gets a kill, they'll share it with the rest of the family. And even between two pods, where the two pods were hunting together, they'll share the kill. So hopefully, Sleepily, Sapphic, I answered your question satisfactorily. If I did not, if you are still interested in more regarding this topic, then let me know in the comments. Our next question is from Geofits4. He says, remembering the show Sequest from the 90s, the show featured a crew on a submarine with a dolphin crewmate. The boat had a translator so the dolphin could speak to the crew. That's sci-fi. But I want to ask how far science has gotten into translating what different vocalizations mean for orcas. Now, I'm going to split this into two segments. I'm going to split this into traditional research, and then I'm going to split into AI, because AI is quite a topical thing at the moment. So, through traditional research, using hydrophones and spectrograms. So, spectrogram is like a visual representation of sound. So, with this, we can tell which orcas we are listening to. So we can tell, for instance, in the southern residents, whether this is J-pod, whether it's K-pod, whether it's L-pod. We can tell if it's big orcas. In the northern residents, they even can tell which matroline it is on occasion. So they can tell if it's a 5-pod. So when doing scientific research on these calls, there have been labels given to certain types of calls. For example, S1 and S2 are different types of calls. Now, the frequency and form changes, but most pods have their own repertoire of calls that's passed down through offspring. And so therefore, they'll have similar calls, albeit with their own dialect. And a dialect is, in a sense, it is an accent, if we want to put in human terms. As for understanding these calls, there haven't been a lot of major strides in this field. Now, as a whole, animals do not small talk. They do not carry a lot of information on their calls. Like, you'll have some animals that just make a noise when they're panicked or to alert for danger. And it'll just be like danger or food. With cetaceans, it's possible that they might have more information on their calls, but it's not an area that's too well. It's not that it's not too well known. It's that it's not known enough yet. Now, something that might help this is AI. So, AI is the most recent and probably the biggest advancement in terms of decoding and understanding cetaceans and orcas. Well, I mean, orcas are cetaceans, but yeah. So far, AI has mostly been used for number crunching. Work out how many types, how many of one type of calls there are, which calls are there, and basically taking a lot of the bulk data processing and doing it for us. Now, before 2 days ago, I'd looked online to find if there was any primary source material for AI use on decoding whales and dolphins, and I couldn't find anything. 2 days before this podcast, I finally found primary source material by McCohen et al. In 2023, called Interactive Bioacoustic Playback as a Tool for Detecting and Exploring Non-Human Intelligence Conversing with an Alaskan Humpback Whale. So this is a paper detailing an encounter that they had using AI with a real humpback whale, a wild humpback whale in Alaskan waters. And using the hydrophone, they would have the call recorded, and the AI would actually produce a repeat call. And that would be broadcast underwater. And the whale would actually respond. So the whale was actually responding to the AI's attempt to mimic humpback whale song. And this study concluded that the whale's conversation patterns were similar to that of humans, which suggests potentially whales do have things like small talk, which means there is actually something to understand and translate. They do have conversations. Now, this is an emerging field. This field wasn't possible 5 years ago. In the next 2 or 3 years, the answer to this question may change more drastically than it has in the entire human history, where we could know a lot more about how they communicate, but at the same time, it might not. So it's a very pinch of salt kind of area. We'll know more in the next few years, but for now, I would say we are still scratching the surface in terms of how far science has gone into translating what different vocalizations mean. If you are interested in a book or reading material that would explain these acoustics a lot more, there's two that I'd actually recommend that I've read. The first one being Listening to Whales by Alexandra Morton. That is an autobiography, and that's based on the Northern Residents. Now, that book is over 20 years old, so that is very outdated now. The second one I would recommend is called Endangered Orcas by Monica Whalen Shields, who is one of the founders of the Orca Behavior Institute. So that's where the further reading is. I think we've come to the end of the podcast. So I want to thank everyone for listening. And if you were in the live stream, thank you for watching. I think you'll understand why I decided to re-record it. And re-record it, I felt my mind going towards the end there. This is still new to me, the whole podcast stuff. Each podcast is going to get better. I'm going to find things that need to improve. I'm going to find better ways of doing it. Maybe I'll do it in segments. Maybe I pre-record it and host it live on Twitch. Or maybe we just have a co-host. So yeah. Thank you everyone for listening. If you did enjoy, please do leave a like, subscribe, and a comment. Comment can just be thanks for the podcast, that you enjoyed it, or just tell me what your favorite whale or dolphin is. This will help the engagement because I want to get this out to as wide an audience as possible, because developing interest in whales and dolphins is crucial for their conservation. If you get more people interested in this kind of stuff, they'll be more inclined to do what they can to help whales and dolphins. So, with that out the way, I will see you guys next month.